timing on it.
So where does it start? Okay, go back to
That's
where you,
what-
go back to where it starts.
The movie camera.
John Murphy of Cúmlagan married
Right next door.
the Ellen Corkery, also known as
So,
Margaret and
But John, we don't have a birth cert for John Murphy. That's Johnny Ger Murphy.
Johnny Ger Murphy.
Was born roughly 1831. We don't have a birth cert, okay?
No.
But he's Cúmlagan, and Cúmlagan was the Murphy family farm, okay, which is in
Mill Street,
Mill Street, okay.
which
So
is now the Green Glens.
the Green Glens, okay,
Park.
but so this is the Murphys of Mill Street, who then later intersected with the Murphys of Macroom.
Through my mother.
Okay, so all right. So
So Johnny
Johnny Ger Murphy was born in 1831, married.
Ellen Corkery, who had the farm next door.
Okay, next door in Cúmlagan.
In Cúmlagan, they were number one Cúmlagan, and Corkerys were number two.
Confirmed
Okay.
in the census.
Confirmed in the census.
Okay, so he was born in 1831. We don't have her date of birth.
No.
And they married on the 17th of August
1858.
1858.
Yeah.
Okay,
That's right.
and then Ellen Corkery. So hang on, before we talk about what happened to the two of them, they then had two kids,
John
John
and Mary.
and Mary. Okay, so Johnny Ger and Ellen had two children,
John and Mary.
Okay, so hold on now a second. So then Ellen Corkery died in 1862. Okay.
And in 1864, Johnny Ger
remarried.
again.
Okay.
He married a woman called Catherine Shea, who would be my great-grandmother.
Okay, and Catherine Shea had
6 children.
6 children.
One
So,
of whom was-
Johnny Ger had 2 families, 2 kids, and then 2 with the first.
And then 6 children with the second wife.
Then he was widowed for 2 years and then remarried Catherine Shea, and they had 6 kids. And we know that Johnny Ger Murphy died on the 14th of January 1914.
Correct.
Yeah.
Right? Okay. So that's the Murphys of Mill Street. So now let's go further down now, because we've got John Murphy and Ellen Corkery had the 2 kids, Mary and John.
Yeah.
Right? And Mary went to the US. She was born in 1858, went to the US and
It's believed to have come back to Ireland.
come back to Tipperary, and that's
And
where that
married
stops.
From there we can-
somebody called Lenihan, we believe.
Lennon. But we don't.
But we have no
Okay.
news of that
So
information.
So let's go on to the second child, who was John Murphy, and he was John, son of Johnny Ger.
Born in.
who married somebody in America. We
July.
do not know who.
But we have his birth. We know somebody who's got his birth cert,
July
which is the
22nd.
July 22nd, 1860. Okay,
Yeah.
and he went to the US. Now this is where it gets interesting.
Yeah.
John Murphy, son of Johnny Ger, had a child, Julia Murphy, right?
Yeah.
Just correct me if I'm wrong. And Julia Murphy married Walter Gunther
Sr. And we believe, because we've been told it by
Yeah.
Suter Grandy,
Yeah.
that she was Julia Genevieve.
Julia Genevieve.
Julia
correct.
Genevieve Murphy, who married Walter Gunther
Senior.
Sr.
Yeah.
And as far as we know, they had just the one child, Walter Gunther Jr. Now, Walter Gunther Jr. would be my mother's first cousin.
Correct.
No,
Yeah.
sorry.
No.
Walter Gunther Sr.
Yeah, was your
would
mother's.
be my mother's first cousin.
Right.
Therefore, Walter Gunther
Because
Jr.
hang on, could you just let to get the connection right, okay?
Because
Wal-
my mother was the child of the second marriage,
Right. So your mother's grandfather was Johnny Ger Murphy,
and
Julia,
Murphy.
and no, Walter Gunther's grandfather. Is that right? Walter Gunther's grandfather was Johnny Ger. Isn't that right?
2 generations.
No.
4 to 2.
Julia Murphy's
Julia Murphy's.
Murphy's grandfather. Julia Murphy married to Walter Gunther Sr. Her grandfather was Johnny Ger, and my mother's grandfather was Johnny
Ger.
Ger.
Okay.
Therefore, that made them first cousins. Their children,
So Walter Gunther
Senior, Walter Gunther Senior's wife, was my mother's first cousin.
Okay, so that means Walter Gunther's Jr. was your
My
second cousin, and Sue de Grande and me
Are
are
our third cousins,
third
direct
cousins.
third cousins.
okay.
I have that written out.
No.
And what information do we have on
Can we go right.
So what information do we have on Sue de Grandy's
One second now.
grandfather? His name was. His name was.
John Murphy. That's all we know. We don't know anything else about him.
No, because Julia Murphy was her.
Sorry.
Was her grand. Julia Murphy was her grandmother.
No. John Murphy married, we don't know who, and then daughter Julie Murphy, who
Okay.
was Walter Gunther's mother. Her husband's mother
Okay.
was Julie Genevieve Murphy.
Okay.
Therefore, her grandfather,
Her great grandfather.
her grandfather would be John Murphy, and her great grandfather would be Johnny Ger Murphy.
I have it written out here.
So go to it.
Okay, it's simplified here. Is that business on?
Yeah.
Hi, there you go.
Can I just
Yeah, go on.
summarise so far? Johnny Ger Murphy
Yeah.
of Cumnagan
Yeah.
had a son, John Murphy,
Okay.
who went to the US.
Married.
John Murphy had a daughter, Julie,
Okay.
who married Walter Gunther Sr.
Right. They had one
They
child.
had one child christened Walter Gunther Jr., who died on June 6, 1944. He had been married to Mary, an army nurse, we believe, from Louisiana.
Correct.
They had
One child.
one child, we believe, christened Mary Susan, who was Susan
Who is
who
Susan de
married-
Grandy? Who's now Susan de Grandy?
married
Correct.
Warren de Grandy, and they have three daughters.
That's correct.
Now,
Yeah.
our understanding is that Peg's mother, who was known as Kit, was first cousin of Julie Gunther Nee Murphy.
Because they shared the same grandfather, Johnny Ger Murphy.
Yes.
Okay.
Peg
Is
is
a
the
second.
second cousin of Walter Gunther Jr.
Because they shared the same great grandfather,
Yeah.
Johnny Ger Murphy.
Yeah.
Susan de Grandy is the third cousin of John Cashill
Of me.
Jr.
Because
You.
we shared the same
Great
great grandfather, Johnny Ger.
We're not sure of this, but we think that Peg is second cousin, once removed, of Susan.
I'm
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct. Correct. Now, so let's go back. I just want to make sure that we've got. So we know what year.
Sorry,
Johnny,
these are the generation numbers.
yes. So we know that Johnny Ger Murphy was born in 1831.
Yeah.
We know he married in 1862. We know he married in 1858. Had two kids. Was widowed in 1862. Remarried in 1864, and then had a prodigious
And
second.
six more children.
over here.
Okay, six more kids. Okay, and we know that he died in 1914.
Yeah.
Now, what do we know of John Murphy?
Nothing.
Nothing.
Nothing. So that
All we
we
know-
need to find out. We
we-
need to see if we can find
Find
a
out something.
birth certificate
Yeah.
or something for him.
That would probably, Sue might know something about that.
I think that would be
Probably
up to
doesn't.
us to try to find that out. Do we
But
have
he's
any
in
information
America,
on
is he?
John?
No, she's in America.
We think he's
She's
born
in
in.
America.
No, he wasn't born in America. He was born in Ireland. Johnny Ger
No, but
Murphy.
he went to America and married over there.
Correct.
So the marriage would be in America.
Correct. But we don't have his birth
We don't
cert.
have any information on it.
Do we?
No.
have something. His son.
What does Pat
Johnny Ger.
have?
Generation 2. Generation 3, John Murphy.
Yes, we do.
Born 22nd.
22nd of
July,
July 1860. So so there's obviously a birth. There's definitely birth cert information in Ireland. 22nd of July 1860.
You can't
But
rely on it.
I know, but he's got the date. Pat Murphy had the date, so we could find out from him where it was. So
Yeah.
that would be
In Mill Street.
in Mill Street, and that would be Sue's great grandfather, John Murphy, who would
Yeah.
be
Would be Julie Genevieve's father.
Julie Genevieve's father, born in 1860.
It's very muddling because the Julies keep repeating themselves and the Johns keep repeating themselves.
So, but we know for certain that Sue's great grandfather was born on the we're fairly certain on the 22nd of July 1860. Okay, and he was the second child no, he was the first child of Johnny Jr. Murphy. Okay.
Yeah.
And then he went to the States, married Julie Genevieve, and off we go.
Yeah.
Okay. Right. Can we up the ante on that at all now? Is there any other information you have?
I did it a slightly different way then. I took the generations from here up.
Yeah.
You and your siblings being generation 1,
Yeah.
mother, and generation 2, and so on. So starting with generation 2, Peg. Now what can we say about her? That Walter Gunther Jr.
His first cousin.
married Mary, who's an army nurse from Louisiana.
Therefore, we're the same generation.
Correct.
My parents and Walter Gunther Sr. are the same generation.
Yeah.
And my grandparents, Joe and Margaret O'Brien, and Johnny Murphy of
John
Murphy and Margaret Corkery, which was the second wife,
Yeah.
are the same generation. And my great grandparents were Johnny Jr of Cumlagan, and who married Catherine Shea,
Secondly.
and Walter Gunther's great grandparents were Johnny Jr
and
Murphy.
Ellen Corkery.
and Ellen, who's also known as Margaret and Amelia. She comes up in all three
Ellen
different names.
Corkery, Margaret Corkery, and Amelia Corkery.
Yeah.
She was probably Margaret Ellen, and for some known reason
That's
got
not
called
unusual,
Amelia.
yeah.
You know, this comes up quite often.
We did the other line then, which
But hang on, so the one thing that we don't, we have John Murphy, son of Johnny Jr. We have the birth, we're pretty sure
we have
the
a date of birth for him,
but we
yes?
don't have the death information.
No.
So that's something that we need to see if we
don't
can
know.
look, because that's obviously in the States. So
So
basically,
the
Julia
Randy
Genevieve's father is what we need to find out if we can track some information in the States
Yeah.
about
About who he
him.
married.
who he married, and
And she would know that there was only one. You know, she
Yeah.
would have known he was an only child,
Right.
and that he was an only child. We
Excellent.
believe that they were all only children.
Yeah.
But we're not 100% sure of that. But that is the line we have.
and then how far behind Johnny Jr. Murphy do we go?
We don't.
we don't.
Really.
One more, I think.
We
He
can.
was he one of the? No, he wasn't one of the 7 brothers of King.
No, that's
No,
that's
the
a
other one.
different Murphy.
No, we
No.
can go one more, but we know nothing about them in fact.
And surprise,
Yeah,
surprise,
his father.
It's John and Mary.
John and Mary. So
That Johnny Jr's father was John, and his mother was Mary.
It's a
and we
reason-
know no more about them than that.
But to be reasonable
Which would be
assumption to make,
easy.
that it goes back to about
early
1800,
1800s, yeah.
1800, 1810
that's
time
not one,
frame.
and to be a reasonable assumption to make that it was their land
Yeah,
that Johnny Ger would have
inherited.
inherited
Oh yes,
again
oh very much so.
from his father John Murphy. So
Okay.
that's a reasonable assumption that he was John Murphy of Cumlagan.
Right. But nobody who's traced back to Johnny Jr. has been able to go back one generation and with factual information other than an anecdotal that it was a John and a Mary.
You realise the birth certificates, a lot of these got burned with
Yeah.
gas and whatever.
Yeah.
I have another summary which goes the other way from, let's see where it goes. Coming down the generations, John Murphy married Amelia Corkery, also known as Ellen or Margaret. They had a son, among others. They had a son, John, married in the USA, wife's name not known. They, in turn, that son, had a daughter called Julie, married Walter Gunther Sr., who was killed in action in 1944.
No, Walter Gunther Jr. was killed in action.
Yeah, see, that's where you've confused it.
Yeah, because you see, we
Yeah.
had.
And that was
We were trying
you
to-
wrote this out. You
This
wrote
was
this
written
out
out
prior to
years
it.
and years
And
ago.
which what caused you all the confusion was
Yeah.
with the Walter Gunther Jr. and Walter Gunther Sr. confused.
I think this is absolutely right.
Yeah.
This is right.
Okay.
Unnamed daughter of Julie and Walter,
Was born no later than 1944
That's right.
because
which is Susan.
which is Susan.
That was a work in
Now,
progress.
Jeff, try that again. I just show you something else